They laughed when I said I'd build something out of nothing. The voice cuts through the storm, trembling yet defiant. They said I'd drown in my own delusions, that some people are born to kneel, not climb. The rain's rhythm becomes applause against the steel rooftop. Lightning flashes across a skyline once unreachable. Now look at them. The voice breathes, softer, almost tender, counting the seconds I choose to open my doors. Each syllable carries the weight of years spent invisible. Dreams mocked into silence. They built walls around me, it continues. So I learned to build empires. Then, a single inhale, a sound of arrival. They said I was chasing fantasy. A whisper curls like smoke, but fantasy became their reality. And I own it. The echoes of the storm fade, replaced by the low thrum of machinery and whispered ambition. He walks the silent hallways of what he built, marble floors that once existed only in his mind. Success hums through the air, sterile and clean, yet somewhere beneath it all lingers the taste of resentment. Every corner reflects what they said he couldn't have. Every shadow carries the ghost of someone who once laughed. But victory isn't loud. It's quiet, measured, a symphony played for no one. In this hush, he feels both God and ghost, both architect and orphan. A single notification lights up his phone. We should talk. The past is always punctual. The cafe still smells the same. Burnt espresso and quiet apologies. She's already there, waiting. The years have changed her eyes, but not their sharpness. You made it, she says, and he doesn't answer, because they both know what that means. Every word between them is a negotiation of memory. Who broke first? Who left last? Who believed least? Outside, the world rushes by, unaware that two ghosts are rehearsing old pain. For a moment, silence takes the shape of everything they never said. When she finally reaches for his hand, it's not forgiveness, it's recognition. The warehouse smells of rust and secrets. He hadn't been here in years, not since the night he lost everything that mattered. The sound of footsteps echoes before he sees him. Jonas, the friend who once called him brother. Time hasn't dulled the blade between them. It's only polished it. You did it, Jonas says. But the compliment feels like venom. Power changes nothing. It only magnifies the truth. For a heartbeat, it's not about money or buildings. It's about betrayal and the cost of remember. Night swallows the city whole. From the penthouse window, the skyline looks fragile, like glass ready to shatter under its own perfection. He knows the empire is real, every beam, every deal. Yet part of him still wakes to wake up back in the workshop, hungry, mocked, unseen. The applause never came, only the hum of envy. He raises a glass not in celebration but in acknowledgement. Of pain, of persistence, of the cost of being right. The phone buzzes again. New message, same name. Clara, we're not done. He almost smiles. Dreams, after all, don't end. They expand. Morning breaks without warmth. The sunlight feels like intrusion, sharp, sterile, revealing too much. The empire hums around him. Screens flicker. Assistants murmur. Deals unfold. But inside, something has gone quiet. There's no triumph left in winning when every face in the mirror looks like an echo of the past. A headline flashes across the newsfeed. Holdings under investigation. The words land like static, familiar in their inevitability. He's been here before, on the brink, doubted, cornered. Only now it's not dreams they mock, it's legacy. His reflection in the glass watches him back with quiet accusation. Every empire demands a sacrifice. He wonders if he finally knows whose. She arrives before the cameras. The press loves her, the reformed visionary, the woman who turned her back on the empire before it rose. I told him not to cut corners, she says, voice calm, almost tender. The flashbulbs pop like gunfire. It's not lies she's telling, it's precision. Every word she offers carves him smaller in the public eye. Behind her smile hides the wound of being forgotten. Behind his silence, the ache of being misunderstood. She's not destroying him for revenge. She's doing it to remind him she still exists, and that his empire was never built alone. He watches her from the car. The crowd's cheers blur into a low hum of accusation. It's not anger he feels. Not exactly. It's the weight of knowing she's right. They built it together, brick by desperate brick, and somewhere between ambition and survival, he let her vanish. Now, every word she speaks reclaims a piece of what he took. His driver asks if they should leave, but he doesn't answer. The rain begins again, steady, patient, the kind that remembers. Let her have her moment, he murmurs, almost smiling. It's still my storm. The night finds him where it always does. The workshop that started it all. Dust blankets the old tools, the blueprints still pinned like relics of faith. He runs his fingers along the wood grain of the worktable, feeling time fold in on itself. For the first time in years, there's no noise, no audience, no pretending. Just the echo of his younger self whispering, "Don't stop." He almost laughs. That boy had no idea how heavy victory could become. Then a sound from the doorway, a shadow, her voice steady but fragile. You built everything except peace. Silence stretches between them, the kind that knows too much. The air smells of rain and metal. The scent of beginnings and endings overlapping. Why now? He asks. Because you forgot what we were building, she replied. The words strike deeper than accusation. They're truth, the kind that dismantles everything it touches. For a moment, he looks at her, not as an adversary, not as a headline, but as the last person who truly knew him. Outside, thunder rolls again. Maybe empires don't fall. Maybe they return to where they began. She turns to leave. He doesn't stop her. Some storms you face alone. Every empire looks invincible until the lights start flickering. The news cycle devours him now. Allegations, leaked files, silent partners unmasking one by one. He stands in his penthouse, watching his face ripple across every screen in the city. Somewhere, someone is pulling strings and he already knows the hand. The strange part is the calm. Maybe he's been waiting for this. The undoing. The reckoning that balances the scale between genius and guilt. The phone rings, but he lets it. When everything you built begins to crumble, the real question isn't who betrayed you. It's why you didn't stop them when you could. He finds Jonas in a place that reeks of the past, a half-demolished parking garage once meant to become their first project. Concrete dust drifts like snow. You sold me out, Elias says, voice low, controlled. I gave you a future, Jonas replies. You just didn't like the cost. The echo of machinery above them sounds like applause from ghosts. Friendship, he realizes, doesn't die from betrayal. It dies from silence that follows. When Jonas lights a cigarette, the flame reveals something sad in his eyes. You were supposed to build for both of us, he says. But you only built for yourself. The investigation spreads like wildfire. Every meeting, every contract, every favor dissected under the public lens. He doesn't fight the noise. He lets it build. For the first time, he sees how much of himself was constructed on the backs of others' belief. The empire is collapsing beautifully. Precise, symmetrical, poetic. As cameras chase him, he feels something he hasn't in years. Freedom. The weight of reputation burns away, leaving only the man beneath. He walks through the lobby, guards whispering, reporters shouting, but his stride is steady. Maybe destruction is just another form of design. Night again. The city glows like a wound dressed in glass. He sits in the same cafe where everything began, tracing a coffee ring on the table, waiting. Clara enters quietly, her posture steady, but her eyes restless. She doesn't apologize, and neither does he. They've both become architects of each other's ruin. They'll tear you apart, she says softly. Let them, he replies. I built something that'll outlast their noise. There's tenderness in her silence, the kind that only comes when two people realize they never stopped believing in the same dream, just stopped believing in each other. The storm outside mirrors the one inside. He stands at the old construction site where it all started, steel bones of a building that never became real. The wind howls through unfinished beams, carrying the sound of everything left undone. Jonas' betrayal, Clara's silence, his own pride, all threads of the same fabric. He closes his eyes and breathes in dust and rain, the scent of failure made holy. Tomorrow, they'll take his name off the towers, his empire stripped clean. But tonight, for one last moment, he stands in the center of it all, whispering to the darkness. It was never about winning. It was about proving I could build. They come for him before dawn. No sirens, no spectacle, just quiet men in gray coats, the kind who make collapse look like routine. He signs the papers, answers the questions, stares at the horizon through tinted glass. The city doesn't look like it used to. It's colder, hungrier. When they finally release him, the air outside tastes like exile. He walks for hours past the towers that once bowed to his name. Now they stand indifferent, monuments to ambition's aftertaste. For the first time in years, no one watches. No one cares. The silence feels strange, almost merciful. Every empire ends twice. Once when it falls, and again when its maker stops trying to rebuild it. She finds him in a place that shouldn't exist, a diner where time forgets to move. Her hair is damp from the rain, her tone gentle but precise. They'll erase you, she warns. He smiles faintly. Maybe that's what I wanted. For a moment, the noise of the world fades and there's just them. Two people who once believed they could outbuild gravity. You were never the villain, she says quietly. Neither were you, he answers. It's not forgiveness. It's an acknowledgement that survival costs more than truth. She reaches for his hand, but doesn't take it. Some distances remain sacred. The city turns. Whispers become statements. Statements become judgments. Former allies disown him with polished press releases and carefully rehearsed empathy. Jonas, now clean-shaven and corporate, gives interviews about moral clarity. The betrayal isn't loud. It's efficient. Elias doesn't respond. He learns to live inside silence, to find peace in absence. He sells the penthouse, walks everywhere, drinks coffee from paper cups instead of crystal. Every step feels heavier, but somehow more honest. For the first time, he belongs nowhere. And that freedom, brutal as it is, feels almost pure. Weeks pass. The headlines fade. He starts rebuilding. Not skyscrapers, not fortunes, but something quieter. Trust. The old studio breathes again, filled with dust and the hum of second chances. His hands remember the rhythm, the ache of creation without expectation. Late one night, he finds an old note scrawled in his own handwriting. The foundation must be human first. He laughs softly. The irony isn't lost on him. Maybe collapse wasn't punishment. Maybe it was instruction. The world outside may have forgotten him, but the blueprint inside never did. Night drapes itself gently over the city. She returns. No cameras, no audience, just quiet understanding. You're building again, she says, and he nods. Not to prove, he answers, to remember. They stand by the window watching rain trace rivers across the glass. There's peace in failure when it becomes choice. She smiles, and for the first time, he doesn't see the woman who left, only the one who stayed long enough to return. Outside, a new tower rises in the distance, not his, and that's fine. He's learned the art of letting others build. The dream he chased has shifted. Now, it's not about being seen. It's about being real. Redemption arrives in envelopes, not miracles. The offer sits unopened on his desk, a letter from the same board that once exiled him. They want him back. A new project, bigger than anything he's ever built. They need you, Clara says, half warning, half wonder, but he hears something else in her voice, the echo of temptation. He touches the envelope but doesn't tear it. After all, he's lost. The weight of that paper feels heavier than gold. The world outside calls his name again, not out of respect, but hunger. He wonders if the price of rebuilding is the same as the price of surrender. He visits Jonas one last time. The man looks smaller now, the kind of small that comes from too many victories won for the wrong reasons. They want me back, Elias says. Jonas smirks, but there's no joy in it. They always want gods when the fires go out. For a moment, the old brotherhood flickers, fragile as memory. You can walk away, Jonas adds. Or you can burn again. Elias studies him, the guilt, the pride, the exhaustion. Maybe the fire's the only place I ever felt real, he replies quietly. Night cloaks the studio in restless gold. He spreads out the new blueprints. Clean, precise, heartless. The project gleams with opportunity, but every line feels like a trap. The air hums with déjà vu. Clara lingers by the door, watching him war with himself. You built for revenge once, she says. Don't build for nostalgia now. He looks up, eyes weary but alive. Then what's left to build for? She steps closer. For peace. Her voice cracks slightly, almost prayerful. For the first time, he lets himself imagine what that might look like. The day of decision arrives in silence. He walks through the streets unnoticed. No cameras, no entourage, only the hum of the city and his heartbeat. Every step echoes a past version of himself. At the boardroom table, familiar faces smile, rehearsed smiles. We're willing to forgive, they say. For the right design, forgiveness, he realizes, is just another transaction. He slides the envelope back across the table. I don't design for ghosts anymore, he says simply. The room goes still. For the first time, he feels lighter. He walks out before they can respond, leaving the empire to crumble under its own polished weight. That night, the city seems softer, as if exhaling after years of holding its breath. He and Clara walk along the river, the skyline glimmering in the distance. No longer his to own, but still his to admire. You really let it go, she says. No, he answers, I finally let it be. The air smells of wet concrete and new beginnings. He looks at her and smiles. Not the smile of a man who won, but of one who stopped needing to. In the rippling water, the towers shimmer like ghosts of a dream that once consumed him. Now, they're just reflections, beautiful, distant, and free. Fame never truly dies. It hibernates, waiting for a softer version of you to emerge. Months after walking away, his face returns to billboards again, but now as myth, not man. Documentaries, retrospectives, think pieces. The architect who refused his empire. They call it redemption. He calls it noise. Every story paints him as something he never was. A saint of failure, a prophet of humility. But myths, he knows, are just lies polished by longing. He watches from the sidelines, unseen, the way he once watched others mock his dreams. This time, though, he doesn't flinch. The world can keep its narrative. He's learned peace doesn't need applause, only quiet endurance. Clara watches the noise unfold with equal awe and fear. Every network wants a piece of the story. Every journalist, a confession. When one reporter offers her $1 million for the real story, she laughs, but her eyes darken. The truth was never theirs to sell. One evening, she visits the studio again. He's there, sketching quietly, radio humming some old jazz tune. "They're calling you a legend," she says. He smirks. "That's just another way to say they don't understand you." She sits beside him, silent. For the first time, the space between them feels like home, not exile. The call comes from a stranger. "We are naming a foundation after you," the voice says, proud and distant. "To inspire the next generation." He almost laughs. Inspiration was never his gift. Defiance was. Still, when he visits the ceremony, something in him softens. A group of students stand by cardboard models of impossible buildings, crooked, beautiful, defiant. He sees himself in their trembling hands, their stubborn hope. For the first time, he feels something close to pride. Not in his work, but in theirs. Perhaps this is what legacy really is. Not ownership, but echo. Later that night, the city glitters like a quiet apology. He walks through the streets without destination. Just the sound of his shoes on wet pavement and the soft hum of life unfolding. For years, he chased permanence. Now he understands the beauty of passing through. Every reflection in every window holds a fragment of who he used to be, and he lets them go one by one. At a small intersection, he looks up and sees one of his old towers in the distance, the lights still burning. He doesn't own it anymore, but its existence feels like an old friend waving from afar. He returns home near dawn. The studio feels alive, sketches scattered, coffee still warm, faint traces of laughter lingering in the air. Clara stirs from the couch, wrapped in a blanket, half asleep. "You were gone a while," she murmurs. "Just walking," he says. "Did you find something?" Her voice is soft, curious. He pauses, then smiles. "No, I finally stopped looking." The city outside exhales with him, rain giving way to pale light. For the first time, the quiet doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. Time has softened the city. The skyline no longer feels like judgment, just distance. Years pass quietly, the way healing does when no one's watching. In the studio, dust has become its own kind of poetry. Elias sketches not for clients, not for fame, but for peace. His drawings are smaller now. Homes, gardens, sanctuaries. Clara paints in the corner, her canvas alive with light. Sometimes they talk. Mostly they don't need to. The world has moved on without them. And somehow, that's the greatest gift. Forgiveness, he realizes, isn't a grand act. It's the slow permission to stop needing to be understood. A letter arrives, handwritten, addressed in the uneven scrawl of Jonas. "I'm dying," it begins. "And I need you to know, I never stopped admiring what you built." The words land heavy, but not cruel. Elias folds the letter, sits for a long while. Regret isn't sharp anymore. It's round, worn smooth by time. That night, he visits the old hospital wing he once designed. Ironically, the only part of his empire that still stands untarnished. As he walks the sterile halls, he feels neither anger nor grief, only gratitude that something of him still serves a purpose. He finds Jonas by the window, thin and fading, yet somehow still defiant. "You came," Jonas says, almost smiling. "You wrote," Elias replies. Silence stretches. Not the old silence of blame, but one that understands its own futility. "I wanted to make peace," Jonas murmurs. For a moment they are boys again, dreaming of steel and glass and forever. As Elias leaves, Jonas' hand trembles in farewell. The moment feels final, but not tragic. Two architects dismantling the last wall between them. The morning after the funeral, the city feels impossibly clear. Clouds drift slow, the air washed clean by rain. Elias returns to the river, the place where once he had declared himself free. Clara joins him, a silent presence beside the sound of moving water. "You're different," she says softly. "No," he replies, "just lighter." They stand together watching sunlight scatter across the current, neither needing to fill the space between them. The past doesn't vanish, it simply stops, demanding center stage. Years later, a small house stands on a hill outside the city. Modest, imperfect. Built by their own hands. Children's laughter drifts through the open windows, blending with the wind. The walls bear pencil marks, scratches, memories. On the porch, Elias sits with Clara, watching the sunset spill over everything they once fought for. "Do you ever miss it?" she asks. "No," he says. "It's all here now." His hand finds hers. The last light fades, leaving the house aglow from within. The dream they once chased across glass and sky has finally come home to rest, built not of ambition, but of forgiveness.